Okay, follow-up from yesterday. All new Belton preamp tube sockets installed. Looks exactly the same from this side. Looks exactly stock from this side. That is the goal. Let me flip this around. I got the new Belton sockets. They're a little bit taller than the old ones, which make it easier to see where the pins go. I don't know how much I can show this on camera, but you get them all lined up. I can't do it from that distance. My eyes aren't good enough anymore. I need to see it closer. So you just line them up. Make sure they're all straight first. Make sure all the pins are straight, nothing's going at an angle. Then you line them up and you push them straight down. Now, this is a JJ here in V. I'm gonna call it V5. Number from the left, I don't remember which V number it is on the schematic. This is the one for the top boost circuit. It's got a JJ in here because this amp has a cathode follower driving the tone stack, and that puts over 100 volts on the cathode of the tube, and that's more on the cathode than a lot of Russian production tubes can handle. That's Tungsol, Mullard, EH, Softtech. Many of them just do not do well with high voltages on the cathode for cathode followers. So that would be V2 in a Marshall Plexi. It's typically the top boost tube in a Vox. Some Voxes drive their top boost from the plate, like some of the AC15 of the past, the Custom Classic, and I think the TBX. But for the real ones, which drive it from a cathode follower, you want to use a Chinese or Slovakian or new old stock tube. Another note, it's not as bad on this model as on some others, but the Russian tubes, the glass tends to be slightly larger than the design spec of the amp. It's particularly an issue on amps made in China, where they really expect a 12AX7 to be on the narrow side. So it can be a little bit tricky to fit a Tungsol or Mullard in these openings, or in a tube base that has a shield for a bayonet shield. Pardon me. But anyway, it's all working well now, and let me show you the remaining issue, as I'm really going to be showing the owner this to see if he wants me to do anything about it, or whether he wants to live with it. So I power the amp on and set up the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Now the standby is flickering. You can just see it in the video because the way cell phones see bright lights is different from how our eyes see it. It's pretty noticeable to the eye, and that's just that old neon bulb. Check the resistor. There's no problem on the resistor. There's no actual pulse on the DC going to that. It's just one of those things. Neon bulbs wear out after a while. I can replace both of these, or I can replace just the yellow, orange one, whatever you want. It's a hassle to do on this, but I can do it. I'd prefer to replace both of them whenever possible so that they match. It doesn't really matter that much. It doesn't inject any noise into the amp. It's purely cosmetic, purely your call. On with the other mods you've done to this amp, it's quite a bit invested in this already, and then we just did the tube sockets. That's going to be another bit of an investment, though. You know, it's between me and the owner, but because I'd done all the other work, I did give him a good discount on doing the tube sockets. And there is no big buzz in the amp as there was originally from the ground loops. And when you got this amp, you reported a buzz that was always there, and that was very objectionable. I really suspect you had tubes not fully seated for whatever reason. There is always going to be a slight buzz in any traditional AC30 because of the way the mix resistors work on the normal and brilliant channels. That's a very high impedance node where those mix resistors come together right before the input to the phase inverter, one of the coupling caps there. And so a very, very small buzz is just part of the circuit. It is so far below the level of what you play that it should not be objectionable in reality. It's there on a lot of Marshalls as well, because it's just pretty much the same topology of the high impedance node, though the Marshall mixers happen earlier. And that can even happen in Fenders to a degree. The Fenders do some strange things with their input impedance caps that usually gets rid of that. So here's the top boost channel now. So I'm real happy with this. Like I said in the other video, when I get, this is going to be here a couple days while I test it to make sure everything's still cool after making some major changes like changing the tube sockets. I like to really do a full burn-in as if it was a brand new amp that had never been used before. And I'm going to do the same on that 65 AC30 and do a comparison between them. And right after this video, I've got another TBX that's getting the exact same treatment, though maybe not the preamp tube sockets. And I'm going to get in there and get all the components out that are getting replaced and start that whole process. And one thing I see here I want to take care of, and I'll do it on camera, there's some fingerprints here that I've left. And I have not been eating fried chicken while working on amps. I don't think I left any goop, but you know, I like to leave things at least as good as I found them, if not better. So I'm getting here with a little bit of WD-40 and getting all my finger smudges off. I'm just gonna work that around and get it prettied up. And I'll do the other side around the other tube sockets too, but I'll do that after they've cooled off because they're very, very warm. So that's going to be it for this amp for a little bit, but I think it's going to have a long, wonderful life now. For those who don't remember, it has had all the filter caps changed, so it is a better than new amp. One thing I just see that bothers me, let's see if I can get this to focus. And this has been this way for a long time. You see how the flanges on this choke are kind of bent? At some point in the past, the screws got loose. And that allowed those flanges to flex. I tightened them all up. And they're not moving now, but when you have an amp like this, anything that's really valuable, and valuable is up to you, whether that's a $300 amp, a $1,000 amp, a $2,000 amp, etc., etc. Maybe once a year, just get in there with your cell phone in the chassis with the flashlight app turned on and take a look at things. And if you see anything that's loose, anything that kind of wiggles to the fingers, or if you can get in there with a screwdriver and see if anything turns that should not, tighten it up. Because you don't want things to come so loose that the transformer mounting flanges get damaged, etc., etc. I think they should have used some steel washers there to reinforce it from the factory. I do that on new builds or when I install a transformer. I would do it here, but the flanges are already bent and it's a little bit late. I could probably straighten them out, but that's just a lot of the labor I'm not going to volunteer the owner for paying for, given that it is rock solid now. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to put this to the side, get on to the next one. Forgot to mention one thing. On the later TBXs, such as this one, when they come in, there's this big metal plate here that runs all the way along the back. That is there so we do not burn our little fingers on these hot tubes. If you reach around, the baffle extends quite a bit. You have to really reach around in there. It's so people don't burn their fingers touching hot tubes, and that makes sense. But it really makes it hard to change a tube on a gig if necessary, because you would then have to actually pull the entire chassis out and the grid panel from the cabinet. And it restricts airflow. So whenever possible, with the owner's permission, and the owner certainly gave it here, I removed that panel because it does nothing good for the amp. And most people will only burn their fingers once. Now, yeah, regulations, children, toddlers, don't let your toddlers play with your tube amps. Yeah, step one. And even, it sounds cruel. That guy on YouTube hates kids. I've got 2 kids. Kids will only burn their fingers on something once, and it's not that bad a burn if you just touch it. So maybe that shouldn't be on this channel. Maybe I'm endangering children or sounding callous, but you can tell a kid a stove is hot, but they won't really believe you till they touch it.